Haha, that looks really cute.
Oh, I love it!
You're listening to the Mike Cassidy Photography Podcast. It's your real-world photography business masterclass with no BS and no magic shortcuts. Here's your host, Mike Cassidy.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Greetings. My name is Michael, and I am your neighbor.
I am your neighbor.
Welcome to the showgram. Coming to you today from deep below the surface in the Boudoir bunker. What's going on, everybody? Just, this is a mini show, and I wanted to say thanks to everybody for the great response to the last episode with Christora. There was a lot of positive feedback, and a bunch of questions came in about that show, so I wanted to do a quick follow-up show here. And, this show is a mini show. It's less formal. It's more relaxed. Do I sound more relaxed? Hopefully I sound more relaxed. And I'm just glad everybody enjoyed that show. And there will be something like that, I think, coming in the future. Possibly called, Ask the Expert. I'm thinking of doing a show along those lines where I'd like to have somebody as the guest, really, who is new to photography. It doesn't have to be boudoir photography, any kind of photography. And what I'd like to do is maybe tackle a question or two that they may have, or maybe even three, and get them some answers. It seems to be people are interested in hearing this, and I think we can help some people out. And interested in nothing planned at the moment, but maybe coming towards the summer we'll be doing something like that. And now all I need is an expert. Yeah? Well, thanks for that vote of confidence. And I was also thinking too, maybe we can have a guest expert with me, like Trevor or Oksana or somebody, and have three people on the show, and maybe make it a little different, a little bit fun, and help these people get their businesses going. No immediate schedule for this, for any of these type of episodes, but it's something that's in the works. If you're new to photography and maybe interested in being on an Ask the Expert episode and taking part of it, is you can reach out to me on Instagram, message me at Mike Cassidy Podcast, or send me an email at mike@thephotographypodcast.show, and just say, hey.
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 And, we'll see if we can put something together for this in the summer. And today, though, is a little bit different. As I mentioned, just sort of a mini episode, and it's just me. And what I wanted to do is reach into the mailbag and answer a few listener questions from the last show. And if you haven't listened to that episode yet, do it. Do it. Christora and I spent about an hour covering a lot of boudoir Q&As, but it's really pertinent information to anybody in the photography business, and people really liked it. So I just wanted to follow this up today with a quick reader questions and answer a few more questions that came in. So that's what this episode will be all about, and be back in one moment to get to listener questions. Okay, so I'm back. Wasn't sure if I wanted to leave the music playing, but I think I will. It's my show, and I'm going to do what I want to. I like that music. It's relaxing. Okay, so I'm going to try to go through this in one take without screwing up too much. I took a bunch of the questions that came in and copied and pasted them in just to one kind of note document. And I truncated the questions a little bit because some of them kind of went on and on with some other expository information, and I just kind of trimmed it down to the questions. So I'm going to read through these, try to do this unedited, and hopefully not stumble and fumble through this too much, but I live on the edge. That's what we're doing here. So as I mentioned from the previous show, got quite a few questions through Instagram. A couple of them came in through email, so I took a few of these and just thought I'd put together some quick responses to them. And the first question that I saw that came in states, you mentioned you take a lot of photos. Do you edit all the photos that you take? And do you show clients any unedited photos, and why? From Kara. And if you listen to the previous show, you'll hear that, yes, I mentioned that, first of all, I take a lot more photos than I actually need. And this is because, when clients are coming in, you're dragging these women in and putting through all this makeup and prep, and they're buying outfits, and it's very exciting for them. And it would be a bit underwhelming to bring somebody in to snap 15 quick photos and say, thanks for coming in, see ya. So the women are there to have an experience, and it's my job to make that a fun time and make it worthwhile for them coming in. And when people come in, everything that we're doing is very structured and posed, although I don't want to make it feel that way to the client. It's not a situation where I'm like taking 500 photos and crossing my fingers and hoping I get a good one here or there. I take more photos than I need just simply because I'll take 2 or 3 of the same pose, because there are times when someone may be blinking or looking just weird in their face. And if you have a really cute picture, that way you at least have a better shot of getting one without someone blinking or squinting or whatever they're doing in their face. So usually I wind up taking more than one kind of each pose and, culling through them and keeping the good ones. Just going in and taking all these random pictures is, first of all, this is not based on luck. You need to learn how to properly pose people and do these pictures. I mean, the bottom line, too, is someone is never going to be selecting, nor are you going to be editing 500 photos and photo albums. I guess you could have up to maybe 30 pictures, 20. So, you're taking a lot more than that for the experience, for people to get a sense that they're actually taking part in something. And, it's fairly structured what we're doing. And, I think if you're just kind of winging it, the client will kind of begin to think you don't know what you're doing. And that may not lead to great results, in that fashion. And I do not edit all the photos that I take. I'm not a sadist, and there's no value in sitting there editing every single photo. And time is really a valuable, limited resource that you have, and I want to spend my time as best I can editing the photos that are going to be used and selected by the client. And of course there may be a few extras here or there that I do, but in no way am I going to edit every single photo that is taken. And for me, I operate a little bit differently, and this gets into a bit of a larger question about the type of sessions that I do. And the amount of time I put in to work on photos and editing has a lot to do with the type of session I'm doing. If I am working with a bride on kind of a high-end boudoir session, I will spend more time working on photos and editing more photos before I present them to the client, up front, because I know what I'm getting in return. I know she's coming in to spend $1,800 or whatever they're doing for their album, and I will take that extra time going through and do quite a bit more, edit quite a few more photos before I upload and present the gallery to give them more of a finished kind of a gallery to look at. There may be a few odds and ends that I don't do, but I may do more editing up front because I know what I'm getting there in that situation. If I'm doing, say, a discounted session, if I run a special or something that's $700 or $800 and I have someone coming in and doing one of those sessions, I would tend to upload more unfinished photos, maybe really basic color correction or something like that, but upload more unfinished photos, let the customer sort of go through, maybe pick out the ones they may like best in the first round. Then I would go back and edit those once they're selected. If I see something that's really cute, I may fix it up. Again, for the sake of time, I don't want to be putting tons of time in something when I know what my return is, or over putting time in, I should say. So I'll wait for the client to make their selections, maybe go back, fix those up, and get them ready for the album. And in the third situation, say, I don't do this very often, but say on Christmas, I'm doing like a mini session, something that's really inexpensive, like $350 or something, a short 20-minute session, which I'm not like a big fan of, but I'll do them in Christmas. I'm only taking a few pictures, and I'm only putting in a real limited amount of time to fix these photos up, again, because I know what I'm in for. I'm not going to be spending 20 hours fixing up photos for a $350 session, because that just doesn't make a lot of sense, So I sort of know what I'm going in with, and I'll, spend the amount of time I need editing photos based on what the session value is, simply because, time. I still need to make a profit on those sessions, and there's no point in spending, as I just mentioned, 20 hours editing photos for a $349 session. That needs to be done quickly and efficiently, and so that you're making some money there in the end. So hopefully that helps a little bit with that question. And next question here says, oh, hey.
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 Oh, hey.
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 Hey. Hey.
Hey. It says, I'd love to be a full-time boudoir photographer one day, although now I'm still working the job I've had for years, but I'm teaching myself all about boudoir and how to be successful. I came across your show and wanted to tell you how I've listened to the Q&A episode 3 times. Oh, thank you. And I laughed out loud, she lolled, when I heard you talking about broken woman marketing. The truth of the matter is that changed the way I looked at boudoir photography, because you were right! ! Suddenly, no matter where I look, you see this message everywhere. It's so funny how someone can flip a switch and suddenly you see things differently. My questions are, how do you think this happened? And will I lose out on customers if I don't use some kind of empowerment message in some way? Thanks, Ashley. Well, I don't know where this came from, but I know it's been around for a while. I'm talking 10 years or longer. And this kind of thing has been out there. And this is going to sound horrible, but a lot of photographers are really just very unimaginative when it comes to marketing. This is just really how I think this kind of propagated around the universe. They typically will see one person doing or saying something, and then they just think, well, if that person's doing it, I need to do that too. And I think that's how that idea sort of gains momentum. And before you know it, it's everywhere. And it's not even that in like a singular way, that's a bad message. It's just that it's completely overdone, and it's just gone like too far. When every person in the universe is doing or saying like the same thing and hammering away at that message, every picture that they post or at every website, would you think it may be an opportunity for you to stand out a little bit? Maybe. And, I can't really say that I'm some kind of a genius, because I never did that. It's really quite simpler. It's just that I never saw boudoir photography in that light. And as I mentioned in that show, never saw my customers as broken or needing help. And more importantly, that message was just never really in alignment with what I was doing, how I was running my business, what I was seeing. And I just never jumped on that pain train, and that's really as simple as it was. And the one great thing, though, and I don't want to seem like I was making fun or anything of the people who run that way, but the one great thing about boudoir photographers, though, is that they generally are really good about creating an experience around boudoir, turning their sessions into experiences, and that lets them put added value in what they do over and above, a photo on a piece of photographic substrate, and this is good. The bad part is that there are 10,000 boudoir photographers out there screaming that same message, and just ask yourself, do you see like wedding photographers all screaming the same exact message, or kids photographers? No. So why do most intimate photographers do this? It's a mystery to me. It's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle. It's just kind of there, but it doesn't mean you have to sail your ship into it just like everybody else. And, it's not wrong if you identify with that message and that's your audience that you're trying to attract, then that's fine. And just, go ahead and do this. And I want to give you a little secret here, just between you and me, a bit of insight, and the women photographers that I know who are really busy and really doing well and are really good at what they do aren't doing that. You don't see that message plastered ad nauseum all over their websites or wherever. You just don't know. And, sometimes I wonder if this message is more even about the photographer than the client. So, but it's kind of a bummer to me. And that's as much as I, really can say about that stuff. And it's not necessary. I don't think you're going to be losing clients because you don't have some kind of message in there like that. If that's how you really feel, you want to jump in and be saving people, that's fine. But I really don't feel that's necessary, nor would anybody be losing out on clients if they didn't have that message in their website and Instagram photos. All right, next question is, how will you know when you are good enough to go full-time pro? And this message is from Robin. And the short answer here, which I probably said before, is you'll know when you're good enough when you start receiving enough certificates of appreciation, also known as dollars, that you can start to survive on. If the definition of pro to you equates to money, then that's your simple answer. If people are coming to you and saying, hey, I got to work with you and I've got to have you do my photos, and suddenly you're able to support yourself and then some, then that's the simple way you know that you're good enough, because your clients will let you know. Next question. Hi, Mike. Hi. I'm a new boudoir photographer, and one of the more difficult parts for me is getting practice. What I mean is finding people who will let me take their photos and use their photos. I'm working on a website, but I don't want to put up a website or have photos of just one or two people on it. I tried a model call, in quotes, but that didn't yield much. You mentioned you hired people. Where did you find people to hire to be a boudoir model? I need that! ! Thanks, Wendy. Well, Wendy, as I think I mentioned, you can always start with any sympathetic friends that you may have. They can still keep their clothes on, and if you're just practicing, taking photos in general, it doesn't have to be that they just have to be in lingerie. If you're working on boudoir, just have them some clothes and practice on some portraits. And getting good is, people don't have to have just underwear on. But you'll see that after a while, your friends will slowly start avoiding you every time they see you texting them or somewhere, because they know you're just going to be annoying them to ask them to be your model. So, I don't know how much your friends will put up with this, but it's a place you can always start, and just make sure they're okay with using your photos if you're turning around and using your friends' photos online. But there used to be a site called Model Mayhem. I think it was like modelmayhem.com. It still exists, but I think it is just like a mere shell of what it used to be a decade or more ago. And the way that website used to work is you could go on to your local area, and it actually had a search. You could search your city or your state or your area, and find people who were models. I don't think that website nearly has the number of people on it that it used to. I think there's people that were all on that website. I'm talking about the model part of it, probably have overwhelmingly migrated onto probably Instagram or Facebook or some other platform. I don't use that very much anymore. And I have been on there and looked from time to time, and you can see there's very, very few people on there now, at least in my area. We used to be thriving. People would constantly be messaging you and annoying you to, oh, you could work with me. So that is what the website was. I guess you can always try that and see what's available in your area, and they let you post on that website sort of like ads if you want to hire somebody, and then the local models can check these ads and respond to you, and you could post details about your job and so forth. And I wouldn't suspect that you would get a huge response from posting a model call on like Instagram or something, unless you have a large and active following. If you're a new photographer and you have 200 followers or 80 followers, I don't think that's going to yield you much, because the odds of someone seeing that outside of your little group of people is probably very, very small. So that may not be the best method, although I know people doing modeling are on Instagram, because a couple nights ago I was chatting with Oksana and DMing her, and at the same time, literally a woman DM'd me and asking me about hiring her as a model. And I know like they're out there, and Instagram search is getting better. I don't know all hashtags for models, but if you're in Iowa, you can always try something like Iowa model, or if you're in a larger metropolitan area like Orlando model, and search hashtags, and you can see people who are, tagging their photos with that and maybe available for hiring for modeling sessions for Boudoir. But, these people are going to expect you to pay them, which is fine. They'll give you an hour or so, or charge you by the hour, however they do it, to practice your photos. And, these are good situations you can use to build your portfolio. There are a few things to be aware of with these air quote internet models. They will pretend like they know more than you, and they will come in and not want to be posed because, again, they're quote models and they know what they're doing more so than you. So you have to be prepared, and you really have to explain up front what you're doing, how you're running your session, and, don't expect top-notch model talent here. These people, despite what they say, are very inexperienced and don't know a whole hell of a lot, despite what they tell you. But if you're getting started, this can be the avenue you need to get some practice and get a few photos with a release that you can use online. And it gets easier, though. And once you get going and your business gets started, it does get easier, because often you'll have clients who will let you use their photos, and you'll be contacted by more and more people who are saying maybe along the lines, oh, I really love your work, but I can't afford it. And boom, there's your opportunity. You can offer them to come work with you in exchange for using some of their photos or so forth. But you are correct. It is tough at first, but if you get hooked up with a local model or two, and it just may be the thing you need to help you get started. So good luck with that, Wendy, and keep it up. You'll make it through. And next question is Mike. Love your photos. And quick question. This may be a dumb question, and you'll hear a lot of different things, but when starting out, does the camera really matter? Like megapixels, ? Or brand, ? Or mirrorless, ? Thanks, Jeanette. No. And if you're just starting out and learning photography, it doesn't matter. Because if you're bad, your photos are going to look equally bad if you're using like a 65 megapixel camera or a 10 megapixel camera. Megapixels aren't going to save you. And I could show you a photo I took 12, 13 years ago, like on a 6 megapixel camera next to the 50 megapixel camera I use now, and you're not going to be able to tell the difference. Megapixels don't mean anything when it comes to how a photo is going to look. Brand of camera, likewise, doesn't matter much. There's a lot of good camera brands out there. Sony, Nikon, Canon, Fuji. They all make excellent hardware and have done so for years. And a few episodes before this, maybe it was back in January, I don't remember, I was talking to Trevor, one of those episodes where I had my mic settings all wrong. And we had a whole discussion about this, cameras and what you need to get started and so forth. And I think really the one thing you need to be aware of that we kind of came to the conclusion is that if you're picking a camera line from one of those manufacturers, just make sure it's a line that you can grow into and will let your work grow. And some like consumer lines, and I'm not familiar with all the makes and models of these manufacturers, but some sort of like discount version of their cameras limit the pro lenses available. Like they have different camera lens mounts, and not every camera has pro body lenses on them. So you just may want to make sure you're just getting invested in a camera line that gives you a pro body. Okay, I'm back. My effort of getting through this unedited did not succeed, as I'm sitting here answering the last question and the doorbell is ringing, and I'm like wondering who the heck is at the door at almost 10:30 at night. And it was a pizza delivery man trying to drop off a pizza that I certainly didn't order. So that's what happens when you're least expected. Okay, so I'm back, and there was just really one more question here I kind of wanted to get in. Last question is, hi Mike, super informative show. I'm a new boudoir photographer and just made my website I took out that, I'm not going to say the name of the website, and nobody is coming. It's kind of depressing. I have more people on Instagram than my website. Are websites still important, or is just having an Instagram enough for a beginner? How can I get more visitors to my website to get customers? Thanks, Kelly. I cut off her name. Kelly, it's supposed to be Ann. I put on. Kelly Ann. Well, here's the thing about websites and social media is that that's not my field of expertise, but websites take a long time to build up a following and start to raise through the ranks of Google, and when people start searching for photographers in your area, start to move towards the top. It doesn't happen right away. However, the website is yours. You control it. You control the content. You can put anything on there. You can change it whenever you want to. Instagram, on the other hand, can change at any moment. And there goes your account. And then what do? I know, or it seemed to me for a while, especially in the boudoir universe, Instagram is using like image recognition technology and thinking maybe these images of people that you're posting are not, what they want on Instagram, and they can censor things at any moment. I've had that happen. I've posted pictures and they've been automatically taken down on Instagram because their little photo AI bot determined it was inappropriate, and then the photos are deleted. And even though it wasn't anything inappropriate, then what happens if they cancel your account? What do you do? So putting Facebook in charge of your business may not be the best decision. As I mentioned, you can do whatever you want to on your website, but it will take time. I don't know how Google works, nor does anybody else, except probably the people working at Google. And I would only imagine that Instagram is still small peanuts compared to the number of websites and web pages that are out there. And, Google's job is to sort through all of these billions of web pages and decide which are important to the person that is searching, And there are things that you can do on a technical aspect, which goes beyond the scope of this question, but, naming your pages properly and technically having everything so that it makes it easier for Google to know what's going on your website. You could certainly go out and do a little work about technical SEO. And that's really the part I think that you can do to aid that process. But there's a lot that you can't do, and there's people out there, we can get you to the first page of Google. I'm not sure that, first of all, that's in Google's rules, and I'm not sure what they can do anyway, but one thing you'll see is just Google favors great content. If your page is informative and it's something that it's of value to the user, they'll start to push it up through the rankings. If you have strong content, you'll slowly start to rise up. And I once saw there's like 200 or so factors that Google uses in ranking websites, and one of them is how long your website has been around. So if it's something brand new, it probably doesn't have a lot of links and not a lot of trust, and it's going to be buried somewhere at first, which does make it very discouraging for photographers. But still, I would keep that website and send people there. If anybody finds you online, have links to your website online. And it takes a while. It takes probably a couple of years to really build up traffic on your website, but it will happen over time. And then the great thing about that is, as you start to pop up through the rankings on Google, people will just organically find you, and then a lot of business will come just from a Google search, and you really don't have to go out and spend a lot of money on ads or do anything like that. But it takes work. It's kind of like growing your followers on Instagram takes a lot of work. Building up your website takes a lot of work as well. But in the end, that's yours. You can control it. If you're not an expert web person, I would say hire somebody that is on Upwork or one of these freelance websites, and they can give your website a once-over and help you strategically make sure everything that you need to have is on there to improve your chances to go up through the ranks of Google quicker, and make sure you don't have any mistakes there that are hindering your progress. But it does take time. And people always ask if ads are worth it. Should I be spending a lot of money on ads? And if you know what you're doing, because that can be a great way to drive people to your website, but you can also wind up spending a lot of money. And if you don't have money to spend, an ad like that isn't necessarily where you're going to get what you put out at first. It's formulaic, and you really have to study targeting and Google ads and stuff like that. But, that's another way. I don't know if at first you should be doing that, but you can always try it with a limited amount of budget, $100, $200. If you had, you could spend on Google ads and see what kind of a return you get on that. If you're doing some kind of special or something and driving some people to your website, it's worth a chance, but I would say be careful. And again, do a little bit of studying on Google ads so you can tailor those ads to get the best return and not just be wasting money, because that's not good either. So good luck, Kellyanne. And just want to thank everybody for writing into those questions today, and glad we can help everybody out. Glad we're putting out some good content that people can enjoy and get some value from. And we'll be back in another couple of weeks with a new show. And thanks for tuning in tonight, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.